Hello. Hello. It's not too bad. But this is funny, isn't it? If I were to walk into your living room and I would say hello, then obviously you would reply by saying hello. Unless maybe I was breaking into your house. That would be a different story. But by and large, here in the theater, you're not expecting me to engage in a direct conversation with you. You're sitting there laid back in your chairs. You're expecting to be inspired and entertained by our speakers today. But none of you really walks up to the stage and says, Bart, are you nervous? And I would say, hell yes, I am very nervous. But none of you does. And why is that? It's because you're not expected to do so in this environment. The theater was designed for one-way communication from me to you. That's why you're in the dark, and that's why I am in these nerve-wracking spotlights. Okay? And I'm sure that you've come across a situation where the environment is influencing the way you interact with others, the way you communicate. I mean, a church is like a theater. A school is like a church in which the priest has lost control over his disciples. A waiting room is like the ultimate dream for a school teacher. And a bar is like a waiting room that's gone mad. And where it's totally normal that you flirt with others. No offense if you normally flirt in the church. But by and large, that's how communication works for most of us. We are influenced by the environment. Okay? So the second factor that is really influencing the way we communicate is what I call the unexpected. You will recall that during 9/11, around the world, in the streets, you could see complete strangers talking to each other, sharing their views on these horrible events in the US. And I can guarantee you, if tomorrow a meteor the size of the town of Maastricht would be heading towards planet Earth, all of us around the world, no matter who you are and if you know that person, we would be communicating. In other words, the environment and what is happening is influencing the way we interact and socialize. Okay? So if I go back straight to my start of the talk, we'll do this again. Okay? And now we're pretending that you're back home in your living room. Okay? You're back home now, and I'm walking into your living room, and I'm saying, hello. You see? I only need to tell you that you're now in your living room, and you already start to interact in a different way with me. And that's interesting, because we can actually do something with this. We can manipulate the environment. We can manipulate what's going on, and in that way we can get people to start communicating. Okay? And that's a thought I would like to share with you today. It's been a few years ago that I was working in Tanzania, and I had finished my assignment, and I was preparing for a very long journey back home. I was supposed to take a train from the deep interior part of the country all the way to Dar es Salaam, a 10-hour train journey. Then I was supposed to fly to Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam. And then I was supposed to jump on a train from Amsterdam, 3 hours to Maastricht, to here. 22-hour journey lay ahead of me. And you can imagine that I was not looking forward to such a very long journey. And little did I realize at that time how that journey was going to change my life. Because as I got on that train, and when I boarded that train, something amazingly happened. I sat down on that train, and I met these most wonderful Tanzanian people. And we started interacting, and we were talking, and we were laughing, and we had a great time of our lives. We talked about work, we talked about family, we talked about the world, we talked about politics, we talked about all sorts of things that were really interesting. We looked outside to the landscape, we talked about it, we talked about nature, and we communicated in a wonderful way. And in fact, what actually happened is that at some stage we actually started singing together. Siale, 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 siale. So you can imagine that train journey that train journey that took 10 hours was over in a split second. Before I realized it, half the time of my journey was already gone. It was one of the most amazing train journeys I'd ever experienced in my life. That night I flew home. I got to Schiphol Airport. And I slept very well on that flight. And it must have been at around 10 o'clock in the morning when I boarded the train from Amsterdam to Maastricht. And as I sat on that train, amongst my own people, amongst my fellow countrymen, I was truly shocked. I was shocked to see how individualistic we have become. I was shocked to see how self-focused we are. There's no more dialogue. There's no more interaction. Worse, I concluded there and then that there's an inverse relationship between prosperity and our willingness to communicate and engage with others. I felt truly sorry for our society. And I started thinking, who do I normally communicate with? And basically, that's just my family, my friends, and colleagues at work. But beyond them, nobody really. I don't talk to anybody else. I mean, when is the last time that you sat down and communicated with a complete stranger for more than a few minutes? When is the last time you actually spoke to a person over the age of 75 that is not your parent or your grandparent? Have you ever engaged in a dialogue with an 18-year-old, second or third generation immigrant kid in this country? A Turk or Moroccan kid? Or is all the information you get about them what you get through the press? And we all know how negative that information is. Absence of dialogue feeds suspicion. And suspicion is the fuel for fear. And fear is the fuel for anger and anxiety. And that's the last thing we need in a society that is marching towards 2050, when there will be 9 billion of us on this planet. The question is, can we turn this around? Is it possible for us to turn this situation around? Is it possible for us to turn this Dutch coach into a Tanzanian coach? And I think there's good reasons why we should be doing that. But let's take a look at what our public transport looks like these days. If you go to the train, there are these normal coaches where nobody talks anymore. Here. And what have we done in this country? We've gone in the opposite direction. We've said we have the silence coaches, where it is forbidden to talk. Actually, thank you. Actually, there's more talk going on in that silence coupe because people will tell you, can you please shut down your phone? You're not allowed to talk here. It really happens. But what I'm arguing is, why aren't we also going in the other direction? Why aren't we saying we're creating an environment that when you walk into it, that you can see that it's perfectly normal that here I can talk to someone or I am being spoken to? Why don't we have that? There's 3 good reasons to do that. The first good reason is that dialogue increases our understanding, our appreciation of other people's views and opinions. We don't have to agree, but it creates respect. And in a society that is deteriorating norms and values, we always talk about this. This is an incredibly cheap way to turn things around. Connect people. Think about the power we can get from that. Example, empathy. Here's a lady on the train and she has just survived breast cancer. Here's a lady on the train that has just been diagnosed with breast cancer. How important is it that we connect these 2 women? Opportunities. Here's a man that has just lost his job. Here's a man that is looking for a job. Opportunities. Wisdom. Here's an 80-year-old man talking to a 10-year-old girl about the terrors of war. What power do we get from that? The second reason why we should be doing that is that the exchange of ideas, getting people to talk, we all know it. It's the fuel for creativity. And creativity fuels innovation. And innovation is exactly what we need when we go towards 2050. That's what we should be doing. Now, interestingly, I am not the only person walking around with these ideas. 2 years ago, there were 2 Dutch students, Job Doets and Laurent Lubbers. I see one of them in the audience there. And they actually came up with the idea to go to Dutch railways, and together they launched what is called the social coupe, the social coach. And what have they done? Very simple. You walk into a coach and you see a sign hanging there, a green sign that says social coupe. That's all it takes to connect people again. They see a sign, they see social, and they start talking again. This has been a huge success so far. And I'm thrilled to tell you that Dutch Railways is actually considering that they may incorporate these social coaches as an integral part of all our trains. I think that would be a massive step forward. Yeah, give an applause to that. We need that. We need that. Now, last Sunday and just yesterday, I must say that I'm incredibly proud to be part of TEDx Maastricht, because last Sunday and yesterday we had, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in history, a train going from Maastricht to Amsterdam and back with TEDx talks on every section of the whole journey. We had 28 speakers on the train giving us the most fantastic talks, music, art, everything you can want to make this journey a lot more comfortable and pleasurable. It was a fantastic 2 days that we had together. We traveled 1,000 kilometers in those 2 days, and we had all these wonderful talks, people interacting with the public. TEDx left the theater, TEDx was in the public domain. I think that's great. Then, let's go beyond that. Let's think, what could happen if we do this also in other places? Not just in the train, but in an airport. Why don't we have a designated area in an airport where people can come and connect? And what's the easiest question you ask in an airport? So where are you flying today? And that person will say, oh, I'm going to San Francisco. Oh, I was in San Francisco 2 weeks ago. You have to go and see this exhibition at that museum. It's wonderful, da-da-da-da. Cheap, nothing, for free. You can actually make money of it, okay? Why not? So, there's an incredible power that we have there to improve our world by connecting again, like the Tanzanians did. Make these places known. Put a T there, a big T sign, so that people see the environment is different. The T for talk, the T for TED, and the T for Tanzania. For Tanzania. They deserve it. We can all make this place a lot better if we start communicating. And as Epictetus said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. That means we can listen twice as much than we speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bart.